quick introduction of myself, I suppose, is in order. My name is Brian May. I am the VP of Product Management here at Profound Logic. I'm also the product owner for our Profound AI solution. I've been around a while. Actually, I just got my notification that I've been speaking at Common for 15 years now, which makes me feel much older than I think I should be. I have been through the ranks as a developer on the IBMI 20 years ago when I started, and 23 years ago. Wow, I am getting old. But anyway, and then moved my way up into management, and now I'm in product management here at Profound Logic. So with that, that's enough about me. I don't like talking about myself. But what I do want to talk about is generative AI. I think it's a solid assumption that all of you have at least done some reading and some talking about generative AI. So as we do at Profound Logic, when new technology emerges and when needs arise for the IBMI community, we always want to take a look at that and say, okay, what do our customers need? And so with that, the first questions I always discuss when I start talking with customers about AI is to sit down and let's realistically talk about how AI can help your business. You should absolutely be experimenting with AI right now. If you're not, start today. It's not a fad. It's not something that's going to just come and go. It's here to stay, and it's going to revolutionize the way that companies do business. So how can it help our business, and then how's your company going to acquire the skills that they need? This is new tech, right? And it is hard sometimes just to keep the lights on, much less try to keep up with the rapidly changing ecosystem that is AI right now. So a lot of IBMI shops will turn to partners like Profound Logic. And we're here to help with guidance, assistance, however we can help. And then, of course, are you building a strategy? And when I say building a strategy, I don't mean just an IT strategy. When you're talking about AI, you should be talking about it holistically. You should be talking about it from a business standpoint, not just IT, because it's great that AI can assist you with coding and help you build applications. That's awesome. It's also important to understand how AI can change the way you do business. And that is where the real value comes when it comes to AI. So as we talk about these questions and as we as a company thought about it, what we came up with is, all right, how can we make this easy? That's where I always like to start when we talk about our products at Profound Logic. And so how can we make AI easy for the IBMI space? And what we came up with is what we're calling Profound AI. To be clear, Profound AI is still in beta right now. It will be releasing very soon, but we are still in beta, still looking for beta customers. If that's something you're interested in, I'll talk a little later about how you can join. But our goal is making AI on IBMI simple. So how do we do that? Well, we came up with a product with a very specific feature set to streamline all of these different technologies and get them all working together without our customers even having to write any code. So the idea behind Profound AI is the ability to build AI agents. You can build these agents just using natural language. No coding's required. You can code if you want, but it's certainly not required. You are actually, and you'll see it when we create our first agent and during the demo, we'll do it in a matter of minutes because we're just going to describe to the AI what we want. And it will actually then build us an agent that we can easily deploy. Profound AI supports many different large language models, both commercial and open source. So if you want to go down the OpenAI route, great. We're here to help. You want to use Azure's OpenAI? Sure, no problem. Google, Anthropic. So, and open source, if you want to use Meta's Llama, or you want to use Mistral or Mixtral, or really just about anything you can find on Hugging Face that you can run for your own models, that's absolutely supported within the product, and you can easily switch between them. I'm finding with most of my customers, they're going the commercial route right now, and that makes a lot of sense. Customers are trying the open source routes, and what they're finding is they just don't have the hardware to run their own open source model in-house, and for it to be able to perform at the level that they're expecting right now. So most are going the commercial route with OpenAI or Google or Anthropic, and they are finding, and I am enjoying all the Queen jokes going on in the chat, by the way. I do see them. You can choose whatever model that you want to use. You can switch between them, and we know that the AI landscape is going to change. That's the one thing we know for sure. And as it changes, a product like Profound AI is built to change with it. As far as data is concerned, AI is great, but in order to make it really useful in a business context, you need to ground it in something, and what you ground it in is your data. So Profound AI has built-in integration to DB2 for I, so you can pull in your existing IBMI data, but you can also pull in your data from other places. So if you have an SQL Server, if you have some data in SQL Server, Oracle, Maria, MySQL, wherever you have some data, you can pull all of that into your AI agent, and it can use that data to help give you insights, answer questions. You can also pull in unstructured data, so data in documents. You can easily pull in PDFs and spreadsheets and Word docs, all of that. So we can combine all of this data that we have from a business standpoint into an AI agent that can then assist us with the work that we need to get done. Built-in data analytics, so it's not accessing some sanitized data warehouse. It can actually reach out. I mean, it can access a data warehouse, but it can also communicate directly with your line of business data. So you can pull in real-time data and have analytics functions. It can, build charts, tables. It can give you insights about, a customer's ordering habits. All of those things are already built in once you give the agent access to your data. If you need to give it some more advanced functionality, you can do that with our low-code system. So you can build custom workflows that meet your business needs, and then set those up so that they can be called directly by your AI agents. And you can use that to automate tasks that you want to happen. So maybe you want your AI to be able to send out a notification, an email or something, or a text, or maybe you need to interface with the API layer of some other application. You can do that as well. Even execute commands on your system. I have an example of that for later. Deployment's flexible. Profound AI is written entirely in Node.js, so you can run it anywhere that supports Node.js, IBMI, Windows, Linux. It can also exist wherever you like. You can have it on premises. You can run it on your IBMI on-prem. You can run it in the cloud. You can have a mixture where you have instances running in two different places. Completely flexible. And just because even if your Profound AI instance is running outside of your IBMI, it still has access to everything on your IBMI. So it can still access your DB2 data. It can still call RPG programs. It can still issue IBMI commands. So, well, this is a CL session. It can call CL programs. Any IBMI programs it can call. It can call sub-procedures within service programs. All of those things can be accessed directly by the AI agent so that you can build out useful use cases. Again, no lock-in. Any model you want, any provider, we don't care. You can switch models with a simple drop-down. So if you're experimenting with something and maybe GPT just isn't cutting it, and you want to try out Claude, It's just a matter of a drop down to switch between any of the models that you have configured within your environment. And you set that at the agent level, so you can choose the right large language model for each individual use case, which is very important because they are all the different models that are out there are good at certain things, and there are some things they're not good at. So finding the right model for the task is extremely important, and we allow you to do that. And then ultimately, as I mentioned before, easy to use, easy to deploy. We've got built-in interface for you to have a chat agent that you can put into your existing applications. We provide the code that you need to integrate that, and the IDE is as simple to use as we can make it. So talking about AI, I like talking about use cases before I dive into the demo, just because I like to get people thinking. And so with that, lots of our customers are talking about automated assistants, help desk. I have customers that are right now working on doing help desk AI agents, where they've got their application documentation as well as like their standard operating procedures, and they are uploading those into the agent and indexing them so that unstructured data can be available to the help desk agent. I've got an example that if we have time, I'll show you, where I've actually got an agent that can reset IBMI passwords for me. Of course, because AI is trained on this wealth of knowledge that it's gathered from the internet, it can even help hardware troubleshoot for customers for end users that are having issues. Maybe my printer's not working. I mean, a lot of the things that you try are pretty standard for those kinds of things. Have you made sure that it's turned on? Is it plugged in? Can you check to make sure that it shows in your connections and windows? All those things, right? An AI agent already has the knowledge to help with that first level troubleshooting that you can make available through an agent. I have an HR example we may look at, which is just using knowledge documents. But I have customers that are wanting to do HR things, where they want to put their handbooks and their insurance documents and all of those things into an AI agent so that their employees could just come and ask questions. Website chatbots, product information, sales qualification. I've got customers looking into all those things. And what we'll spend the most time on, and what's the most fun, in my opinion, is enhancing our legacy business applications, right? We can add AI on top of what we already have. And with that, we can deliver new business value without having to make changes to the back end of our applications with little to no code at all. And then add things like data analytics. So, a customer can have a screen up, they can start asking questions about that customer or their orders or, whatever it may be. And AI can actually give them insightful responses, include charts and graphs and all the things that they may want, and get some real value out of that with very little effort. So enough of the slides and enough of me talking. We had one question, how long does the beta program run? The beta program will continue until we release the product. So that is hopefully not too much longer, but it's development, right? Things happen. By the way, I'll point out all the graphics that you've seen in this slide deck are all AI generated because I'm not an artist. I've really had to dive into all the uses for AI, and that is just one of the ways that we're using it more these days. Let me flip over, and we're just going to jump right into the product because that's what's fun. So as we're going, I'll try to keep an eye on the questions and answers tab over here. If not, we'll circle back to them at the end and make sure that everyone's questions are answered. But here we are inside of our IDE. Now, this is our Profound.js IDE. Profound AI is built on top of Profound.js. But to start, I just want to start a brand new agent because I want to show you how easy it is to just get started. So with that, I'm just going to go to new AI agent. All right. So when we start out, you can see here, I have a chat window in front of me. And if I go to the right here under my agent tab, you'll see I have a drop down for model. And here you can see all the different models that I have configured in my environment right now. We have lots of them that we support. From Llama to Claude to Gemini, GPT, all the GPTs, Mistral, Mixtral, whatever you want to use. For this, and we're even working on, it's in my environment now, but it's not working. GPT-4o, which was released yesterday. So we're putting that support in right now. What's great here is that all we need to do is configure the models we want to be able to use. And I can actually show you where that's done. It's pretty straightforward. It's just in a configuration file. Here in my config.js, I can scroll down and you can see here I have a list of models. And here you can see where we set up the provider. So meaning where is it hosted? So hosted by OpenAI, hosted by Azure. It could be an address if it's something local, wherever, which model we want to use, and then where we can set up our API keys, assistant IDs, anything that the model needs to be able to do its job. So once this is configured, these models are just a part of our list of models. So I'm just going to use GPT-4 Turbo. It's my favorite. And let's create a new assistant. So I'm going to give it a name. Let's just call it Lunch and Learn Agent. Perfect. We're all IBMI people around here, so we like blue. So let's just make our heading there blue. And so we have our guidance. So this is our prompt. So the way it works in Profound AI is you as the developer have control of the prompt. The end user is only able to interact with the agent. This is different than giving an end user like a chat GPT window because they can ask it to do anything. And in this environment, you as the developer control the prompt and can put guardrails in place, right? To make sure that this agent is only going to do what you want it to do. So the default here is you are assisting an enterprise application user, use the functions provided to respond appropriately. I'm just going to add on to that. You should only answer questions about products and their features. So we're going to make a product agent here. So we have that, and I'm going to just flip over to my data access. And inside of there, I'm going to add DB2 tables that I want this agent to be able to see. The large language model and agent cannot access any data that it is not given explicit permission to see. So we'll go in and I'm going to add a few tables. You can see here I have my list of connections, my IBMI, and I've also got MariaDB running in AWS and an Aurora database in AWS, Microsoft's SQL Server in Azure. We can be pulling data from everywhere. But for this example, we're just going to keep it on IBMI. And inside of there, I'm just going to go into my demo library and I want my products table. So I want my products table. So I want products P. And I want my, let's see, I need my features table. And I need one more. I have a table that cross-references my features and my products. So that is prod P. Perfect. So I've now given this agent the ability to see these tables, sort of. Within those tables, I now have to say these are the columns that the AI is allowed to see. Again, you don't always want to give an AI, a large language model, the ability to see all your data. Maybe you have some sensitive information that you don't want exposed. You can control that. For this example, though, I'm just gonna give it access to everything. So now you can see here, it can see our product information, it can see our features, and it can see the cross-reference between the product ID and feature ID. You'll also notice that I haven't joined any of these tables or done any definition of how these things fit together. AI can actually figure that out all on its own. So I'm done at this point. And what's great is I haven't even saved this yet, but I can go ahead and start talking to this AI. So first I'm going to ask it, who is John Paris? And it's going to tell me it's here to assist with questions about products and their features. And questions about John Paris do not directly relate to that, so ask another question. Again, guardrails. So, I can only ask questions about products. So let's ask some product questions. So this database has GPS data in it, like for GPS. Back before we all had cell phones with maps built in, we all had these devices we put on the dashboards of our cars, the standalone GPS units. So this is just data about old units like that. But let's just say, hey, can you show me a list of products with voice recognition? Welcome to live demos and LLMs. Let me see. I know that there are products with voice recognition. So either I mistyped something or I set something up wrong. Let's see here, features. Okay. So let's try that again. There we go. So it's having trouble accessing some data for some reason. So let's start with something simple then. Show me a list of products. You'll see here, it's giving me a list. The database actually had URLs for images, so it's including those images for me. I'm not oh, apparently we also have some cell phones in that list now as well. Someone's added some data that I wasn't aware of. So there we have those. So let me see if it's just the feature file that it's having a problem with. So show me a list of all features. Okay. We're all good there. So I'm still not sure why it's not putting the two together for me. Because it worked right before we started. There we go. I'm not sure. Welcome to AI. It's not always right. That's important to understand and to make your users aware of, is that it's not always perfect. But here we are. So it's given me a list of the GPS units that have voice recognition. And so now I'm going to say, okay, well, it lists that TomTom XXL. So tell me more about that. As you can see, it gives me all kinds of information about it, all the features, and images, all of those things. And so if I were a customer, I could ask a question like this. And this is where things get fun. So if voice recognition, eco-friendly routes, and traffic updates are important to me, which product would you recommend? And the AI will actually go out and take a look at the features of all the GPS units that are available. Actually, it will run that in reverse. It'll take a look at the features and then get the list of units and find the right. So it recommends the Garmin Nuvi 3790 because of my preferences, and it lists out the specific things that I said were important to me and that I have matching features for that. So questions here, all the features of the GPS is just described. Is it pulling from the database, or is it pulling from the database? So the database that I have here, I have a table that has a list of specific features and the feature descriptions. And then in the products, we have just basic information about the product. And then we have a cross-reference table that has the list of all the features that each unit has. So it's not pulling that from the internet, it's pulling it from my actual data in my business application. So there we go. So we just created an agent really quick that we can start using, and I haven't even saved it yet. So that is like, how can I build an agent as quickly as possible? And I'm trying to watch my time here to make sure that I don't go over. So let's take a look at a few use cases that I mentioned on the slides. Let's kind of walk through that and show you some things that took a little more time than this to build, but not a lot. I mentioned document summarization for like an HR agent. So here we have a very simple example. So the question was, how long did it take to train GPT on my data? I didn't train GPT at all. I'm just using straight GPT-4 and giving it access to my data. So the way that works, look, that's worth talking about. So if we go back to where we were, I'm actually giving the agent access to data. And what happens is when the agent interacts with the large language model, it doesn't actually give the large language model direct access to the database. What it does is it basically says, given a database that looks like this, with these tables and these columns, can you answer this question that was asked? And then, so what the large language model does is that it comes back and says, okay, can you run this SQL statement for me to get the data I need? And that sounds scary, doesn't it? Prompt injection is a thing, just like SQL injection on web pages. So what Profound AI does is it actually then parses the SQL statement that it was asked to run to make sure that it only includes the tables and the columns that are explicitly listed here that the agent can see. And provided it passes that check, then Profound AI actually runs the SQL statement and sends the final results up to the large language model. So you don't actually have to train the agent. The agent is just using its knowledge of database concepts in order to ask the right questions back to Profound AI to go out and retrieve the data. Is the solution dependent on the customer, me, having a paid GPT account? Yes. If you're using OpenAI, you can think of it like a utility. Someone's got to pay that bill. So yes, you would set up your own accounts with the large language model providers that you want to use. And then those were the setup in the config file that you saw earlier, where I was setting up my API keys in order to communicate with them. When you send your data to ChatGPT, et cetera, it seems like you might have HIPAA and other privacy issues. Yes. All right. So you have complete control over what the large language model can see and what it can't. Ultimately, you're responsible for that data. By having these controls in place, you can ensure that sensitive information is not sent to the large language model. Now, as far as the privacy of that data, that comes down to your large language model. It's important that you understand the privacy of the privacy policies of the providers that you use. Now, if you're running an open source model that's running, somewhere on your systems, then obviously you have complete control over that. I know that right now, for example, OpenAI, if you have a paid account, which is what is required in order to use this, you can't use a free account, then it does not use your data to train future models. And it comes down to, you have to trust that provider, right? So ultimately, that is at the large language model level. Again, that's why we do what we do here, and that we don't just try to give the large language model free rein to the data. We've tried to put guardrails in place so that you ultimately have control. So, if you have a social security number in your database, I hope it's encrypted to start with. But regardless of if it is or isn't, if you don't want it, just uncheck the box, and then the large language model can't see it. So ultimately, that comes down to using that. So we've got more questions coming in. I'm gonna keep moving though, and we'll kind of loop back to those, or we won't get through any more examples here. So I mentioned a help desk agent, or excuse me, an HR agent. So here you can see I have uploaded an employee handbook. It is the actual Profound Logic employee handbook. And my instructions just say, we're assisting a user with human resource questions. You will not answer any questions that do not pertain to the employee handbook in this case. Apologize for not being allowed to answer general questions. Ask the user needs further help. Again, natural language to tell it what we want to do. And I can come here and I can ask questions. So I could ask, for example, as an employee of 13 years, how much vacation time do I get? And it will actually pull the data from that document in order to answer that question. And even give me a reference back to where in the PDF the information came from. What's interesting here, though, is that this document is completely in English. However, and I don't speak Spanish very well, if I were to, let's just kind of start fresh, come in and ask what holidays we get in Spanish, the large language model will actually reply to me in Spanish, even though the source document is in English. So for those of you that are in multilingual environments, this can be extremely handy. The large language model is just smart enough to recognize that it's being asked questions in a different language and just respond in that native tongue. All right. Again, I'm going to trust John to, I've completely lost track of time, so I'm going to trust John to cut me off when the time comes. We'll come back to the help desk one in a little while. I want to get into some fun stuff.
You've got 15 plus minutes, Brian.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So let's talk about adding features to a business application, right? Because that's the title of my presentation here. So what I have built here is an agent that's going to assist customer service agents with customer orders. So as I showed before, we've given it access to some data, our order detail tables, product tables, category tables, shipper tables, employee table. You'll notice in the employee table, I'm only giving it the first name, last name, and employee ID. None of their other information that may be confidential is being shared. And again, I don't have to link these tables together. The AI can figure that out all on its own. In this one, we've also added some routines. You'll notice I didn't give it my customer table. But what I did do is I created this routine called get customer phone and fax. And you can see here, I have an input parameter of a customer ID, output parameters of the company name, the company phone number, company fax number. What does this routine do? Well, as you can see here in the low-code system, it's just calling an RPG program. And well, it doesn't have to be RPG, any ILE program. We're just calling a program. We're passing in the customer ID, and we are getting back the company name, the company phone number, and the company fax number. And you just set up your parameter list. And you don't have to do all this manually, because you can actually click this button and you can copy and paste your RPG prototype into here, and it'll set it up for you. And yes, there's lots of legalese in here because the tool actually sends that prototype up to a service that we have running in the cloud that actually parses that RPG code to get the parameter list out. It's actually using the same technology we use for our transformation services, where we can transform RPG into Node.js. So anyway, but you don't have to set all that up manually. You can just copy in the prototype and it'll figure it out for you. But that's it. It's a simple program. It takes in the ID and passes back the name and phone numbers. But based on the parameter names and the descriptions, all of that information is sent to the large language model as far as the input, the output, and the descriptions, so that it knows when and how to use this low-code routine that we built. And then for the agent, the guidance for this one is a little more in-depth. So we're assisting an enterprise application user, providing insights and information on the customer and order ID being inquired upon. The customer ID is, and you'll see that I have a variable. In this example, we're going to actually pull data off the screen in order to give the agent context. And the order ID is that variable. Always include the customer's company name. Always refer to products by product name. Again, it's like talking to a 5-year-old. Because without this little bit, it has a bad habit of just referring to things by their ID, which, if you know your data really well, might be okay. But for the average user, they'd rather it say, Save a Lot Markets instead of customer 379, right? Follow the context of the questions. Interesting. This particular database doesn't have an order total column. So instead of having to write code to do that, we just explain to the AI how to calculate it. So it can be calculated by summing up the order line extended value, which is unit price times quantity times 1 minus the discount. Then the order freight can be added to give an order grand total. Summarize your math concisely before giving the final answer. So I didn't have to program it. I just had to describe it. All right, so now, so we have this agent. Let's talk about deployment. If I go under launch, I can go to deploy this agent. And this is going to give me the code that I need to copy into my UI. So if I have a web-based UI of any kind, this is defaulted if you're using our products. I can uncheck that and assume that we're running this somewhere else. And it says, okay, well, you're going to need the script file, right, that has the profoundai.js file. And then if I have it set for an on-click, so you're attaching this to an existing button, just copy this JavaScript into your button. on click event. Also, you see there's a comment here to replace the sample values for the, so these are our two parameters we have defined. And so right now it's hard coded to my example values. I would just replace that with a little bit of JavaScript to retrieve the data from the screen. However you're doing that. If I wanted to use an embedded icon, which is what this example does, then this goes into your, you'll see it's building an onload basically to put that on the screen automatically. So I would just take this code, copy it into my UI layer, and I'm ready to go. So let's see this thing in action because this is fun. I'm going to launch my application. This is just a simple order entry type of application that already exists. It's not pretty. It's not, you know, that's not the focus. But I'm going to go to a customer that I know has a good bit of data, Save a Lot Markets. And we have our orders listed here. Let's just choose one. And this particular page has our AI agent implemented on it. You'll notice the little Ask AI agents icon down here. So I can pull this up, and here we have my assistant here inside of my order entry application to help me out. So we can ask it all kinds of questions. You know, you can ask it something simple like, what is this customer's most purchased item? All right, they buy a lot of kombu, whatever that is. I have some pre-built questions to save time, so we'll just kind of copy some in. Salespeople for this customer by revenue. We'll take a look at the orders that are out there and give me a list of the employees that are attached to these orders. And there we go. But maybe I want to do something a little more fun. Maybe I want to do a little bit of data querying. So I want to graph the customer sales in 2023 by category. And my internet connection may be a little slow right now. Let's see. Let's give that one another try. There we go. As far as speed is concerned, there's a lot of variables going on here. It depends on how busy the LLM is. It depends on internet connections, right? All of that plays in. So there we go. It gave us our chart, which is useful, right? You know, little ad hoc querying to get some information is always useful. But what if we ask the AI to actually help us do our job? So based on order history, what types of promotions will increase beverage sales to this customer? So this is where AI is actually going to give me real insights based on my data. And it's going to be a little wordy, but that's okay. It's telling me, okay, well, we need to look at what, you know, their most purchased beverage products and seasonal trends and higher volume purchases. And then it went through and did some of that. And right, so it says we can focus on top selling products. All right. And it tells me the most purchased beverage products by them is Chang. I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of these, but that's okay. It's Steel Iced Stout. So promotions that focus on those. We can have discount-driven promotions, seasonal or event-based promotions. Promotions on variety packs, loyalty. So it mentions seasonal. So let's ask it for some more information. So, all right. So when would a seasonal promotion on beverages be most effective for this customer? So say, okay, it's going to go out. It's going to take a look at this customer's order data, and it's going to give me some information about when seasonal promotions might work best. So not only does it tell me that April was the highest quantity of beverages, right? It's also is giving me some insight. So this suggests that early spring might be an optimal time frame for initiating beverage promotions. October, early autumn shows, and other peak in beverages. So again, it can give you all kinds of information. But here's what is really fun is it's giving me this. What if I said, create a PowerPoint presentation outlining these suggestions for management, if I can spell. And it will do it. So it's made recommendations on things we can do to increase sales to this customer. That's great. I like the recommendations. Now, help me build a PowerPoint so that I can sell this to my manager. And it will actually go out, and there we go. It's created a presentation for me. I can download that, and I'm going to open it, and it's probably going to mess up my PowerPoint presentation that we're already in, but that's okay. Now, it didn't give me any fancy formatting, but it did all the things that it's been talking to us about. It did actually put those into slides for me that I can then, go make pretty. If it had given me charts along with that, it can absolutely put those in there as well. So it, again, is giving me real value with no code. I haven't actually had to do any coding to make this happen. And, if I'm going to do this as well because it's just such a common request. Create an Excel file with a list of all beverage orders for this customer in 2023. It'll do that too. So for, lightweight BI, AI can absolutely handle that for you. And give it to you in whatever format that, you want to see it, whether it's a graph on the screen or it's, giving you a spreadsheet or whatever it is that you might like. There we go. There's my Excel file, and these, let me download it. There we go. And I can then open that, and there we have just, a basic spreadsheet with order IDs and order dates, some product information on what was ordered. No extra tooling, no BI tool, just asking AI to give me some answers to the things that I want to know about. Which I think is super exciting. I think we are coming up on the end of time, I believe, but there's one last thing I want to show you just because I know you're going to appreciate it. So I'll be as quick as I can. I have an agent here called Category Description Agent. It has a chat interface, but we're not going to use it. In my guidance, you can see here I've set this up with some parameters. So it's telling it you'll be past these parameters. Use those and other resources to put together a longer description for a catalog listing. Your response should have the marketing vibe to it. You can absolutely give your agent's attitude. Response must be a minimum of 250 characters, color values properly capitalized, mindful of trademarked words and capitalize them accordingly. Expand abbreviations if there's room to do so. Make sure to include the product ID at the end of your response. So there we have this isn't accessing any data or anything. We're just we're generating content with this. So now I have this agent. I've created a module. Think of it like a service program in the low-code world. So I have a module file with a routine. Think of it as a sub-procedure. And in low-code, I'm telling it to ask AI agent and passing those parameters in. And I have input and output parameters. So these are my inputs, my ID, short description, all of this coming from my application. My output is that new description that I want. But here's the fun part. IBMI call interface. Here's your RPG code to call this AI agent directly from RPG, programmatically. So what could you do with that? Well, let's say I've got a green screen application. I know, I shudder too, but let's just say I do. I just happen to have one right here. And I've already pre-populated the fields just because, to save time. But we'll change something to 4 here just to make sure it's not pre-done. And you can see here, I've got the capitalization all wrong, and I've got some misspellings in here. There's all kinds of nastiness in this. But if I hit the F5 key, it's actually going to go out and call that AI agent and generate a catalog description for me. Introducing the sleek iPhone 13 SE in black, space silver, and rose gold, etc., etc., etc. If I don't like that one, no problem. Hit F5 again. Have the AI regenerate. It gives me a slightly different description. But the point being, from just a standard RPG program, I am now interacting directly with an AI agent that's, in this case, using, I believe this one's using GPT 3.5, I think. I'd have to look. Yes, using 3.5 Turbo because I want to save a little money. So there you have it. We can create these AI agents without writing any code, and then we can deploy them within our web-based applications, or we could even call them programmatically. I could even wrap this in an API if I wanted to be able to call it, through an API interface as well. So again, all of that is there, and I hope makes easy for everyone to use.
I want to take a moment to thank all of you for attending our Lunch and Learn session on our new generative AI tool, Profound AI. You can head on over to our site to schedule a time to chat with one of our experts about the Profound AI beta, or you can sign up for our AI newsletter to help you keep up with the latest in AI technology news and how it applies to you and your IBMI.